This is the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting.
Good morning, everyone. First time I didn't have to use the gavel. I had to do it for myself. Everybody's quiet and I was talking, so. Okay, I will call this Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting to order, and it's Thursday, February 22nd. Please press your roll call buttons.
Oh, looks like one of them was touchy because it came on and went back off. There you go, thank you. 20 members present, 5 excused, 2 vacant.
And Clerk Lolawagan, has the open meeting statement been fulfilled?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. Today, while we stand for the silent meditation and then the pledge, gosh, please keep those students and parents in your prayers and thoughts down in Florida. I once said a number of months ago, this is happening too often. What a terrible tragedy once again. And also, it's great to see Mr. Rowan back after some serious health issues with the doggone flu going around. Mr. Sorensen, you look fit as a fiddle, and I think we're ready to go. So, at any rate, let's stand for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. When Mandy called me on Monday with the terrible ice storm we were getting and going to get Tuesday to consider changing the meeting, and we had other staff members sick too, to Thursday, I hadn't given it a thought, but I do monitor the 911 system, and it seems that ambulances are going out for broken bones by the hour, falls and parking lots mainly. I fell in the driveway Saturday. Nancy couldn't get me up, and it took half the neighborhood to come over and lift me. But nothing bad except a badly sprained ankle and a bummed up knee, and just my pride was pretty hurt. They didn't have to call Barry quite yet. We need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Mr. Fleece and a second by Mr. Muck. Any questions regarding that issue? Seeing none, please vote.
I have one more. Supervisor Donna. Sorry, your buttons, some of them are working correctly. Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0. Oh, it worked.
Next item is to approve the minutes of January 16th, 2018. Motion by Mr. Quistman and a second by Supervisor Pullman. Questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Item 7, we go on to ordinances. Amendments to the General Code of Ordinance is A. Amend Chapter 7.08, Bridge Weight Restrictions.
There's an explanation information on the second page for you. I don't know if Casey wants to come up, but my understanding of this is that the DOT has changed some of the rules for the bridge is for 45-ton limits, and so we could reduce some of the numbers that we had. Is that correct, Casey?
I will bring Casey up.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the bridge amendment is a work in progress in which the federal government at some point reviews the bridge weight limit postings on bridges in the entire United States, and then as they reduce or change legislation, it affects how we have to legally post our roads. In this case, a couple years ago, we had to post approximately 8 bridges throughout Waupaca County, and now that they changed their rules and the way they want to conduct certain aspects of that, we're required to pull them 40-ton bridge weight limit postings off of the 6 of the 8 bridges that we had to previously post at 40 tons. With that, we're still leaving 2 of them being posted, one on County Trunk Highway B, right near Scandinavia, where G goes to the north towards Iola. And the second one we're leaving posted is County Highway Double B, north of Royalton, right off of B. So reason being is they just fall in a lower classification rating system. And I have them in a program in order to, or at least I applied for a program to keep them to get in the process of getting replaced. We haven't been awarded any funding for it, but I felt it was imperative that we keep them at least 2 on B and double B in the program. The Fed said take the rest of them off. So we're following what the feds tell the state, of which the state then relays it to the county on what to do with our structures. And it's all a longer process than that, but that's all it is just once we post a road, in order to enforce it to be legal or not legal through the Sheriff's Department, an ordinance has to be brought through at this level.
Just stay there a minute, Casey. I get a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Supervisor Craig and a second by Supervisor Jonley. Now we can we go to questions. Discussion. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item B is 2018-646, amendment to the Chapter 34, petition number Z-003-18, Town of Union, June A. Cole, for a zoning map amendment from AE District to RR District on approximately 0.6 acres. Morning.
Good morning. This zone map amendment is to provide a lesser setback distance for a structure that was erected on the property.
Okay, is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Zog and a second by Mr. Kussman. Discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Item C is a 2018-647 amendment to Chapter 34, petition number Z-004-18, Town of Wyoming, Scott A. and Deborah Eli, for a zoning map amendment from PVRF district to a AWT district on approximately 23.93 acres. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Sorensen. And a second by Mr. Nygaard. Glasses fogged, we couldn't see it. Okay, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Next item is D, 2018-648, amendment to Chapter 34, petition number Z-005-18. It's a Town of Lind, Wisconsin, and Northern Michigan District Assemblies of God for a zoning map amendment from PVRF district to an RR district on approximately 1 acre. So, motion by Mr. Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Spearings. Okay. Discussion? Mr. Penny. Mr. Penny?
What?
Oh, you raised your hand. I
Oh.
thought. Okay. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Next item is Town of DuPont, Z 2017-1, Lester P. and Esther E. Lambright. Town of DuPont for a petition zoning map amendment from a general agriculture zone to a business zone on approximately 5.4 acres.
I would add in on this one that the next two are in the town of DuPont. The town of DuPont isn't under comprehensive zoning, they're in their own town zoning, but state statute does require county board approval for
Okay.
those amendments as well.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Muck and a second by Mr. Rowan. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carried 20-0.
And the last one is item F, Town of DuPont Z 2017-2, Willis J. and Angela F. Buss. Town of DuPont for a petition for a zoning map amendment from a general agriculture zone to a rural residential zone on approximately 2 acres. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Muck and a second by Mr. Nygaard. Question or discussion?
Question.
Yes.
I
Supervisor
noticed
Gray.
with these two, Jason, that we didn't get any information on it. Is that because they're under town zoning, so we don't have those maps, or
That would
why?
be correct in terms of how we got the information for it, but there were maps that were generated for this as well. Did you not receive those?
They weren't in the package.
They weren't in the packets? Okay. I guess I don't know how those didn't get in there for it, but it was limited information that we received from the township for this, but
I just thought maybe, I thought maybe we didn't need to get all of that if we don't cover it, but if we do cover it and we were supposed to, then now I know. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other discussion? Yes, Supervisor Boyer.
Was it approved by the township?
It most certainly was. Both of them were, this one and the last one. Thank you.
Question. Any other discussion, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Okay, we'll go down to resolutions. Number 8. A is resolution number 32, 2017-18, reauthorization of self-insurance for workers' comp.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors, 1, provides for the continuation of the self-insured workers' compensation program that is currently in effect, which will include the agreement to report faithfully all compensatable injuries and agree to comply with Chapter 102 of the Wisconsin Stats and the rules of the department, and 2, authorizes the Human Resource Director to forward certified copies of this resolution to the Workers' Compensation Division, Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development.
There's a motion by Mr. Gerald Murphy for approval and a second by Mr. Ellis. Any discussion or questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0. Zero. Doing my baseball game again.
That's strike 2.
Wait, where was my first strike?
8B is resolution number 33, 2017-18, recognition of Gary Barrington, District 27 Supervisor.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors hereby commends Supervisor Gary Barrington for his years of service to the Waupaca County residents and guests, and wish him continued success and happiness in the years to come.
So motion by Mr. Zog and a second by Mr. Fleece for approval. I just have to say, and I said it before, I've known Mr. Barrington for a lot of years. We both have been on here a lot of years. Those of us that worked with him, that know him, he was a supervisor's supervisor. He was asked to be on so many different committees. He didn't ask, but department heads did, for he was a positive man to move forward, educated. He was a strong leader in his own mild way. We'll forever miss Gary, now basking in 50-degree weather down at Mesa. I feel sorry for him, but I guess it's going to get warmer next week, they said. So, with that, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20 to 0.
Okay, we'll go to good information now. Reports from Register of Deeds, Michael Mazemke.
Morning, Chairman Kippen.
Morning.
Morning, everyone. I put a report on your desk today. Hard to believe, this is my 11th report, and you'll see it hasn't changed much. The good thing is numbers change every year, so I'm going to kind of get right into it, and we'll make this short and sweet and to the point for you. So I guess just for review, our mission of the Register of Deeds Office: to provide and protect the integrity of the official county repository for real estate records and vital records, to provide safe archival storage and convenient access to these public records, to implement statutory changes, system modernization, program and procedure evaluation, and staff development to assure a high level of timely service for our citizens and customers. So I probably will touch back on that a little bit, but going right into it, vital records for 2017. Certified copies of vital records are as follows. Now don't confuse this. This isn't how many people were born. This isn't how many people were married or how many people died, but it is the number of records that were issued through our office. So, and again, I think I've explained last year that as of 2017, we do issue birth records statewide. So if you know somebody who was born in Milwaukee, they certainly can get their record now in the Register of Deeds office. So we're very proud of making that change. I was involved in that with a couple of my cohorts in the Register of Deeds offices throughout the state. We are also working on death and marriage as well. You'll see those dates as how far back we can issue those. That number is kind of changing a little bit here and there. They hope that in 4 years, all records will be in, and you'll be able to get your records from anywhere in the state at that point. So numbers are: birth, 949 vital records, 591 additional copies to those 949 births. Deaths, 904. The additional copies on those death certificates were 6,317. Obviously, you need additional copies for insurance, whatever. Marriages, 447, and an additional 572 copies of those certified copies. The next portion that I'm pretty proud of, and I think all of you can be proud of as well, we've managed to, as part of our statutes 59.43, we sell copies of real estate records. And those copies are $2 for the first page and $1 for each additional page. We have 7 companies that buy copies of documents on a monthly basis, and they pay us $475 per month. We also have surveyors that pay us a flat fee per month of $50. There are also individual escrow accounts. People also use credit cards online to obtain those documents. But last year we sold $96,111 worth of copies out of the real estate records. Mostly all that stuff is done online. There is a select amount that do come to our office and get them, but for the most part that's an area that we don't have to touch. We are also going to this year add more records to the amount of records that will be purchased online. We're hoping to do imaging of all the real estate deeds for Waupaca County. That's a big project, and last year we did have that approved to spend about $50,000 to have all those images put online. Also, last year, you'll see attached is the document totals for deed and transfers. Last year, we recorded 10,098 documents. 1,527 of those contained fees. The deeds contained fees, so there was actually a fee paid. The property was sold. That fee, the Wisconsin real estate transfer fee, was $678,827.10. That fee represents $3 per thousand on a sale. So last year we sold, there was $225 million worth of real estate that changed hands in Waupaca County. If you look back to 2003, you'll see that is the biggest year that we've had in a long time. If you go back to 2003, though, you'll see that the number of documents recorded was 25,687. So we're nowhere near the amount of documents that were recorded back in 2003. Obviously, that was a big time for refinancing. Interest rates were coming down drastically, and so people were refinancing. There was mortgages being recorded, satisfactions of old documents being recorded. So pretty interesting as to how those numbers shaped up last year. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a couple of title companies I talked to, I said, well, how's the year going to shape up this year? And it just seems like there's a lack of properties for sale right now. So they're a little bit of afraid that it ain't going to be what it was last year, but time will tell. A couple other notes for our office. Jesse, Veteran Service Officer, and I have been working on a project to image and make sure that we have the DD-214s, your military discharges, another part of our office, imaged and made sure that those records are a permanent part of our history. We don't, certainly if there's a fire or a flood or anything like that, we want to make sure that those records are permanently stored. The other thing that would do by imaging them is make it a lot easier. Every time a DD-214 is requested, somebody from their office comes downstairs and comes through our records because we are the holder of those records. And we're going to work like heck to make sure that we get that project done this year. And we both have budgeted money for it. We're kind of working on some of the little details to make sure we get it done. The other part of the imaging project that we want to do, in the real estate portion, we have a grantor-grantee index for all the real estate documents. And if we make that available online so that people can take a look at it, it makes it a lot easier for them to find their old deed, and then we sell that deed to them. So a little bit more revenue for the office. The other little thing that goes with that is, I say deeds, but there's also some books that are all the final judgments. Those would transfer title back in the day, as well as the miscellaneous documents. So there's quite a large number of those. Not least, but I have been working, and there was some laws put in place to make sure that all documents have Social Security's redacted. I keep reporting that this is going to be the year. We will make sure that all those Social Securities are removed from all the documents. But it is a big undertaking. We've gotten a lot done, but we have 900,000 documents to have run through the system. Those documents could be a one-page document, or they could be a 25-page document with a mortgage. So it's still a big project, and the funds are out there to have that done. It's just a matter of pinning down. As far as I know, there's one person in the state of Wisconsin doing all the counties, and so you kind of bide your time. And I think when that whole law went through, it was interesting. I'll leave it at that. A couple other things that we work on, obviously recording the documents and making vital records, but on a daily basis to a weekly basis, we're asked about easements. That little salmon colored piece of paper that says we don't practice law is, I always look at that and point a little bit and then give my 2 cents about easements. And very delicate, very time-consuming process of making sure people want to know where their easement is. And take a look at your abstract, take a look at your title work. Most people have it and have gotten it when they purchase property. So going along with that, the Sesquicentennial and Centennial Farm Program, that's something that people come in quite regularly, ask us to find all their deeds, and I'll ask them again. I said, well, if you've owned that property for over 100 years, you probably have that little thing with a blue cover called an abstract. Bring that in. I'm happy to walk through it with you, but to go through all the books to find all the deeds sometimes can be real troublesome. And as much as I like to help people, it can be difficult. But I will make a comment. There's a gentleman, his mother owns a farm in the town of Scandinavia, close to where I live, and he came in and asked me, he said, we're real close to 150 years. If you just look at about 150 years, he goes, I'd really like to make sure that we can get this recognition for Mama while she's still alive. And so his name happens to be Christensen. He also helps me cook lutefisk in Iola. So how do you say no to somebody who helps cook lutefisk? So Ron Christensen's mother's and family has owned the farm for 147 years. So they're just hoping like heck that they can get that sesquicentennial certificate from the state fair. So great project and great program. So keep an eye out for that. We always have the applications in our office. We work quite a bit with Renee Powers. She's in plat review. Anytime there's a new plat, anytime there's a highway plat that's recorded, it kind of hits her desk before it hits ours, and so she's always a good person to talk with. Department of Revenue, that's a daily basis. We're making sure that those transfer returns get reported with the Department of Revenue. We put in a new program that kind of does some of this automatically. Works great. So unfortunately, there's times that I spend quite a bit of time with our new treasurer, Mark Sether, going, wow, why don't these numbers match? It, I don't want to blame him, but it just seems like once he started, the report changed drastically. I don't know, Clyde and I never had a problem, but I don't know, maybe he looks at them closer or something. No, all kidding aside, but the Department of Revenue, that program is a great program that we got through. It's called LandLink, and sometimes automation is good, but it takes time to get it to sync. State Vital Records is the other one that we work with on a daily basis. I mentioned kind of the birth records. Every time we put in an application on the old ones, again, back to 1907, you can get birth certificates. They go through and they actually put that information in the computer. They type it in. We had a lady in today from Iola that I know pretty well, and came back that her mother and dad had the same name. She looked at that. That's a little strange. And I said, yeah, it is. Hold on. We're gonna ask the state why whoever typed this in this morning. Maybe they didn't have their coffee because she was there before 8 o'clock. But anytime we're issuing those records now, it's not like going back into our archives and pulling the record that we know is correct and then making a copy of it. Now it's actually typed out and it looks really professional, and that's the way we want things to look anyway. But interesting days. We have a lot of fun in the office. I'm very fortunate to say that I've had the same staff since I started in 2007, and the girls really know the office well, so I'm very appreciative that I'm able to keep that staff in place. Any questions for me?
Questions? Well, we're all pretty tight-lipped today, so far.
Thank you.
I just want to embarrass you again, but maybe there's somewhere that you weren't here last time, but our departments are great here in Waupaca County. I'll tell you they are. But one department that I get a lot of plaudits for, God bless you, a lot of plaudits for is the Register of Deeds. Not too long ago, I got an email from somebody in, I think it was Illinois. We're very well liked in Illinois, saying, I just want to tell you the Register of Deeds department staff in your county is friendly, professional, and kind. They were so happy. They didn't say you, Mike, but your staff. But no.
Well, they do all the work.
But again, thank you for the great job you do.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments.
Okay, we'll go to the Waupaca County Fair Financial Report for Mr. Schrader.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Jeremy.
I have a lot of information to share with you this morning. I'm sure I'm under a time limit. I'll do my best to properly articulate everything for you. When being asked to come to this meeting. Typically, I would have done this in the fall, but with my role as a principal in a middle school and high school, I have a very large project going on, and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. until 11:30, I have administrative meeting. So it's very difficult for me to be able to come to the county board meeting to present. So in this case, I guess the weather was a blessing in disguise for me to be able to get here. When I was asked to come to present to you, it was communicated to me that the county board had some questions and so forth, wanted to know how the Waupaca County Fair is doing, if things are getting better, if they're getting worse, if we're sitting on a large sum of money. And then there's historically been a lot of transparency concerns with the Waupaca County Fair, is how it was communicated to me. And I was here a little over a year ago and presented on the 2016 fair. And I'm going to follow a similar format, but I'm going to give you even more information, more than probably what you want. But my hope is that if there are any concerns or so forth, I hope that I can put those to rest today. Because I was not aware that people had some concerns and so forth. So we'll get started here today. I want to reflect on the mission statement, and the Waupaca County Fair is committed to continuing the quality education of youth and the general public about household, mechanical, and agricultural sciences while creating a fun and interactive atmosphere for all. And I think that is really the key that the board continually focuses on when they do planning and so forth. I'm very fortunate today to have some of my security, actually no, the fair board members with me here today. I have President Randy Lurkey is here today, Vice President Dwayne Stelzner, and one of our board of directors, Rich Litke, is here today. They're going to be passing out information for you to take, both of my presentation here, in which a lot of questions will be answered, hopefully, and then a complete fiscal year breakdown, line item by line item, for everything the Waupaca County Fair does. And I know the board here specifically has interest in the junior fair, of which they, excuse me, of which they donate $15,000 annually to help support. And I will break that down in very great detail. So as they pass that out, I'm going to recognize the other board members that make up the Waupaca County Fair Board. I am the manager of the Waupaca County Fair Board, therefore I do not sit on the board, I don't have any voting. The board makes all the decisions, okay? Our treasurer is Amy DeSantis, Secretary Sarah Canespo, Director Steve Bartle, Director Janet Olson, Director William Ponto, and Director Tom Yankee. So if you follow along with me, you have the presentation in front of you, and I will break into the financial, which you are also receiving momentarily. I want to highlight some things about 2017 for you. In 2017, the Waupaca County Fair reached more people than it ever has due to our marketing strategies. We're very thankful to have on board a very good promoter that has quality social media staff. I am not personally very talented, I'll say, in social media. That is a thing of the future now, moving forward, and so we are utilizing that to the best of our ability. As I was attending convention along with some of the fair board members, I was in the public room, I'll say, for a social break, and this lady walks up to me and notices my name tag, and she says, "Waupaca County Fair." And immediately I froze, because usually when people start that way, I'm unsure of what's going to follow. She said, "I am a brand new business person in the Wausau area that works on promotions and production, and I want to say that the Waupaca County Fair has the best social marketing I have ever seen." That was a pretty impressive comment to receive, and a couple of the board members here today were actually sitting right next to me. Never met this lady, never heard of her company, but I thought that said a lot about our county and what we do. There were many new facets that created a learning curve for the 2017 fair that challenged and or exceeded our budget predictions. One of the challenges, the new building not being completed, forced us, to make some changes, had some unplanned costs, things like that. We drove forward and got through it, and it worked out fine. Thursday night's performance was excellent, but unfortunately the artist was not real well known, which therefore contributed to us lower attendance than anticipated. Friday night was absolute excellent attendance and sales throughout. One food vendor talked to me that as close to the grandstand has been with the Waupaca County Fair for over 20 years and said Friday night, August 25th, 2017 was his best night ever in the 20 plus years he's been there. One night. We had over 5,000 people on the grounds on Friday night with the artists and so forth, and market animal sale and many other things going on. Unfortunately, Mother Nature decided that we needed some rain, and Saturday was a loss to us due to the rain with our 2 events on Saturday. So at this time, I'd like to break into the financial statement. That would be the second document you received. And I'm just going to highlight a few things. I am not going to go through every item. I do not want to insult your intelligence or ability to read. I will gladly answer any questions you have. Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, they can ask throughout the presentation. I am totally fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The first page breaks down our revenue. So we keep all of our financial information in QuickBooks. And myself and the treasurer, I enter all the things in, and the treasurer approves and brings to the board for approval on financial items. So you can see our income that came in. A couple things I want to highlight to you. First off, about 3/4 of the way down the page where you see gates. Some people might wonder, it looks like our gate revenue is lower. The reason being is that anybody that bought advance tickets, their admission to the grounds was included. So that doesn't register then under this category, okay? So when you look at a difference from comparing a year prior to this year, that may be a question, okay? It continues into the various areas. You can see that our total revenue was $307,469.48. Under our expenditures, a couple things I want to highlight for you. Under our administrative expenses, you'll see a line item there, donations and stipends. I want to let you know that one of the goals I and the board have is to continue to get groups from Waupaca County, whether it be Lions or church groups or FFAs, FCCLAs, what have you, to be part of the fair and volunteer their time in some capacity. If they volunteer their time, the board has a formula in which they will make a donation to that group based on the number of people, the number of hours, and the type of work they did during the fair. I'm proud to say in 2017, 13 groups received a donation from the Waupaca County Fair. And these groups, again, make up various areas in Waupaca County, from legions and VFWs to high school groups, Foundations for Living, Rawhide Boys Ranch, so on and so forth, 4-H clubs, FFA, FCCLA, and so forth, okay? Again, that depends on the dollar amount they receive, which in this case was anywhere from $50 up to $1,200, depends on what they do, how many people they have, how many hours it entails. On the second page, one of the areas, page 3 of 4, under expenses, I want to talk about is our insurance. If you look at the previous fiscal year to this year, you can see that our insurance more than doubled. In fact, it almost tripled, okay? There's 2 reasons for that. Number one, we had to redo our insurance policy. With bringing large name national entertainment back, there are certain liabilities we have to be able to cover in the event of any challenges and so forth. The other issue is the Waupaca County Fair this last year took out rain insurance. In the event that we get rain, the idea would be hopefully we can recoup some of our costs. I can tell you we missed the rain insurance by less than 1/8 of an inch. Okay. In that case, we would have recouped 100% of the costs of the events, which is a huge deal, okay? So I want to let you know we continue to look at that, look for ways to ensure that we can provide quality entertainment and opportunities for our kids and families, but also try and protect ourselves in the event of inclement weather. The other area that will stand out just below insurance there is equipment and rental. You can see that there wasn't a number in the 2016 fiscal year, and this year the number was $15,350.14. The reason for that is big name entertainment. Production cost and staging makes up $14,400 of that number. Okay, so it's very expensive to have those items. And we obtain bids, just like I'm sure you do in your protocol, and we select the lowest bid. Those are the things that I really wanted to highlight. In regards to the budget, there's a lot of different things. On page 404, the bottom line in 2017 is when all is said and done, we had a loss of $51,165.19 for the fiscal year. There are a lot of things that make up that loss, and I'm going to highlight some of those moving forward in my presentation. Are there any questions right now on anything that is in front of you?
Questions? No, continue on.
Okay, I'll continue on and hopefully they'll be answered. So I want to specifically focus a few moments on the junior fair in which you support for our kids, because the bottom line, it is about our kids and families. So in 2017, there were 389 exhibitors within the junior fair. That led to 4,181 total exhibits. That's outstanding. That is up quite a bit from the previous year in 2016. All of our exhibits were up this year across the board, which was great to see. For a specific breakdown on the junior fair expenses, one of the things we did in 2017 was put our junior fair premium book online and try and encourage people to go online. But noting that in some of the areas within Waupaca County, internet service and so forth are difficult, we did print, through the help of the Extension Office, a select number of premium books for those families to utilize in clubs. And we'll continue to do so in 2018. Junior fair premiums, exhibitors are up, exhibits are up, therefore the premiums go up. The premiums are what is paid out to the exhibitors when they place places 1 through 4. Judges, you have more exhibits, takes more time, might need to have a few more judges. However, the judges' dollar amount is just slightly down from 2016. Superintendents and clerks, obviously we need the superintendents to oversee the various departments. The clerks need to record all the information from the judges. Their stipends are there. Ribbons, the exhibitors receive placing ribbons 1 through 4, grand champions, honorable mentions, merit awards, so on and so forth. Our junior fair secretary, which I want to take a moment to publicly recognize Judy Peterson, she has retired as of the 2017 fair. So the Waupaca County Fair Board is in the process of working with Extension, and we are currently, it was just posted this last week, looking to hire a new junior fair secretary. We pay an organization to clean out the barns at the end of fair. When we clean out those barns, we have to have a place for the manure to go. So there's a cost of manure hauling and disposal. We are required to have a fair vet on premise to inspect and check over our animals and be sure everything is kosher and following according to the Department of Trade and Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection. We had 77 judges, clerks, and superintendents in which we issue them passes so that they're able to come and go from the fair. And then 331 junior fair exhibitor passes that are given out so the kids are able to come, show their exhibits, check on them, things like that. Now somebody might question, well, that number doesn't match the total number of exhibitors. That's because ages 11 and under are free to the fair and do not require passes. Some other costs, you know, that are just part of it that we have to have in other areas, but also benefit the junior fair, sewer, water, electricity. Wi-Fi services was something new this last year that I know a lot of judges and superintendents appreciated. Security, first aid, our Blue Ribbon Management Program, that's all the entry that the junior fair secretary does or I do with open class. The entry tags, the premium checks, our insurance, postage, trash recycling, and there's many more. But those are costs that we all have to have in order for the fair to be successful. What was learned? Myself being in education, I always like to reflect, and the board reflected on what was learned in 2017. We need to sharpen our pencil. We need to tighten up the budget. We have to have the ability to say no. We can't accommodate everything. It's just not possible. We need to have better ticket pricing to ensure that our expenses are covered. We want to get people to the fair. The fair is changing. We want to get people there. However, when reflecting back, to go to 2 concerts for $18, plus that included grounds admission, is extremely cheap. Okay, so there was a lesson that was learned there. Many little costs will add up to large expenses. Someone may come, you know, to myself or the board and say, well, this is only going to cost $75. This is only going to cost $100. But if that continues to happen, that turns into thousands of dollars real quickly. The continued challenges of educating stakeholders and committees about how a fair operates and what is needed to be successful. We have to continue to educate the public. The fair is education. You saw it in the mission statement. We have to educate and train people what it takes to operate a fair. We are bound by numerous guidelines from the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. The Extension Office does an outstanding job in following those guidelines for their junior fair. We have to make sure they're implemented across the board. So what are we going to do? We're going to decrease our budget significantly in 2017, but not change the quality of the Waupaca County Fair. We need to be able to ensure that we make up the loss from 2017, and we also need to make sure that we will have operating funds, for example, in this time of the year when there's not income coming in, to be able to do business. Because we have to sign contracts, we have to pay deposits, things like that. All ticket prices need to cover expenses, as I mentioned. We need to ensure that our pricing is comparable to fairs of like caliber and size. We need to attract and secure more sponsors, and I'm proud to say that sponsors are coming to us, which is great to see. We had, I can talk for Vice President Dewey Stelzer in the back, he had a sponsor approach him before the 2017 fair was over, stating, I want to be part of this fair. I am impressed with what is happening. So we're on the right step, or moving in the right direction. We need to attract and secure more groups and volunteers to lower that payroll side. All right, with taxes and things like that, we need to be able to attract more volunteers. I'm reaching out to all the schools. I have an inside track with that. So I'm reaching out to all the schools, trying to secure more groups and communities. So what's going to be new in 2018? Our theme, the Waupaca County Fair is all for you. That's what we'll be focusing on in 2018. We are extremely excited to be able to use the new Grandstand Pavilion. Our commercial exhibitors are going to be moved to the Grandstand Pavilion. They have always been in the red building next to the gate, and one of the downfalls, that's a dead-end spot. And so moving them to this brand new environment of comfort and quality, they will attract more traffic and sales. We are working on a potential new sporting exhibit that will be in the old commercial building exhibit, or commercial building. That is something that is just very in the early infancy stages. We're hoping to make that come to fruition, but again, I want to stress potential. We are going to actually start the fair on Tuesday night this year. It's always been a Wednesday through Sunday. We're going to have our local antique tractor pull on Tuesday night this year. Wednesday night is going to bring something brand new to the Waupaca County Fair. we are going to have a large monster truck show. These have been selling out all across the nations, and they go on Tuesday and Wednesday nights typically. We're going to have a brand new interactive stage show for families and youth. We're very excited to have this come to our fair. This gentleman has been doing this for a number of years, but is rolling out in 2018 a brand new stage setup, and I think our kids are really going to enjoy it. Its sole focus is on agricultural trivia and education, and I think it's going to be a great addition to our fair. We're also going to feature a national traveling wood carver, chainsaw carver. This is a very large company, and they have, I believe, over 20 carvers, and we're very fortunate for 3 days we're going to have that individual at our fair. They'll do some high-quality carvings, and then we'll auction those off. And then to round out my presentation, you are the first people, well, I should say second, because I presented this to the membership 3.5 weeks ago. This is our 2018 lineup for the Waupaca County Fair. Tuesday night will be that tractor pull, as I mentioned. Wednesday night, the Monster Truck Racing League. Thursday night is going to feature a little bit of everything for you, from country to classic rock. Craig Morgan, if you're an International Harvester fan, he sings about it. And then Sister Hazel. Friday night is going to be a bombastic rock celebration with the band Hairball. They'll take you back to the 80s with all kinds of great, exciting stage performances for a solid 2-hour performance. Saturday night will feature our WTPA truck and tractor pull again, in which we have added an additional class this year. And Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock will feature our demolition derby. And the fair will close at 6 p.m. on Sunday, August 26th. There will be plenty of other live music and entertainment throughout the week at the Waupaca County Fair. Proudly glad to be working with the Veterans Services Office to feature our large veterans program. We had numerous officials that attended that last year, and we're very gracious of that. I think it was one of the bigger ones that has happened at the fair, and so we're looking to have that again. I have said a mouthful. What questions do you have?
Questions? Mr. Penny?
Do members of the Fair Board receive any compensation?
They receive a $35 stipend per meeting, and then they receive an hourly wage during Fair Week, which is minimum wage.
And would you attribute any part of that $51,000 deficit due to the fact that maybe you hired some better grade of entertainment?
Absolutely. And where it really boils down to is the ticket pricing and a lot of unknowns that came with bringing national entertainment back. You know, as one of the things I'll just reference, as Chairman Kempen referenced at the start with all the school tragedies and so forth, just like you have to in many areas, the Waupaca County Fair, we continually have to be worried about safety and security. So we work very closely with local law enforcement, the Sheriff's Department, Emergency Management, and do a lot of additional things, you know, in that respect as well. So there are a lot of costs that come with having national entertainment. Absolutely. But we've worked very hard thus far in 2018 and have significantly reduced our costs, even with having the quality entertainment.
Mr. Fleece?
I'd like to thank Mr. Schrader and the Fair Board for what a great job they're doing. This report has been lacking for a lot of years, and it's a great report and done a great job. And I think only things are going to get better from now on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did we not lose, you had a major musical performer a few days after leaving Waupaca was dead?
That is correct. Friday night when we had Montgomery Gentry present, that was his second last performance. He was killed in a helicopter crash 2 weeks later, to the date and time almost. So, yeah.
Mr. Johnson?
Jeremy, it's great to see this report, things you've learned, because it looks like you're going to make the changes that are necessary, and I know it's not easy to make money at the fair. So,
Right.
Good job.
Thank you.
Any
And
other?
thank the board. They make the decisions. I just follow their directions. So.
Any other questions or discussion on the report? Well, I want to thank you very much, but I also have to tell you that Mr. Schrader was our guest on the radio program, Shano, a few weeks before the fair. How great was that? Because he got into all the nuts and bolts of what was going to happen, and for most of an hour. And then that was just great. So we'll mark you in August next year again.
Did you get your breakfast yet?
I haven't, and I mentioned that to the radio announcer yesterday, and he. So anyhow, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short recess. Okay, we'll begin. Steve is just getting a resolution for you all to sign for Gary going around here. Okay, next we're going to have Highway Commissioner Mr. Casey Beiersdorf approach the stand.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
Morning, County Board. It's not icy, so that's even better. I'd like to start off with a presentation and then a small little speech, and then we'll go through some introductions for some new folks that are on board with us for the new highway facility. So with that, I want to make sure that if you don't know that you have it in front of you, this is your first handout coming from the core planning team on recent progress of our new highway facility project. So everyone should have this. If you do lose it, or you're asked, or if certain individuals or constituents or people that you work with want to know more about it, we are going to post this week every time that there's a new one on our highway department website, so that you'll be able to reference it there as well. So just going through this quick sheet of paper talking about recent progress with the new highway facility. We've established a continued project schedule way on your left. So as we're getting into the January, March time frames, we are designing. And we're designing every other week. We're meeting with our core planning team that is consisting of Mark Korth, our buildings and grounds manager, Chris, our office manager, myself, Bray Architects is coming in, and Myron is helping us through that process as well. It's going to even get more often now, in that the projects that the architect and the construction manager have completed for past projects they have, now it's going to be multiple times per week that we're getting into the designing of the new highway shop, which is pretty busy, but yet it's very rewarding every time we get done with the meeting to see the progress that we've had. Looking into March of 2018 is the construction documentation phases. It's DNR permits, it's final plans, it's specifications, it's subcontractors' estimates, it's contractors, it's all the gamut of what we're getting ready to put together for the September bidding and awarding. And eventually construction is proposed on our project schedule for the fall of this year and going into the fall of 2019, of which there's more decisions to be made yet on that. So that's how we've kind of put the project schedule together. Over on the design process, way at the bottom, you'll see a picture of myself facing away, and then Greg Floor with the yellow jacket on pointing, our buildings and ground manager. And also involved in that photo is two gentlemen that work for the Jefferson County Highway Department. We've recently went and toured the Jefferson County Highway Department. We've toured the Madison Sewer Sanitation District, just to look at a little bit of Bray Architects designs and thoughts. And then with Paul from Myron, we've went and toured their new corporate office right there in Neenah off of Highway 10. Beautiful facility. Kind of gives a little bit of perspective in not necessarily how public works facilities should operate and function, but how you could integrate different thoughts from administration offices coordinating along with workflows into drafting tables and where supervisors would be and how accountants' workflow would be, basic stuff like that. After that tour, we went with Paul and the Myron team over to the Calumet County Highway Department, a recently built facility over in Calumet. And Paul talked a little bit more about that one with his presentation. And then after that, we went over to the Little Chute Public Works Department and looked at their facility. And not just looked at it, actually got a tour by their buildings and grounds supervisors, managers, to find out all the little things that they not necessarily should have done better, but hindsight, what could have been done better after the facility is done. I'm sure there will be one or two things that we wish we would have made the change on, but that's with any monster project, and we're trying to alleviate 99% of them ahead of time. So this is just the basic progress sheet on what we're doing and how we are moving forward with our new highway planning process. With that, I just had a small speech because gotta have a speech, right, Nick?
Where you bet.
Yep. So, in my short career with Waupaca County, I've had some unique opportunities. And them unique opportunities were unique in that I've been surrounded by accountants, engineers, mechanics, equipment operators, surveyors. Outside of my career, I've been surrounded by generals, soldiers, finance directors, elected officials. This project is a team effort. Casey isn't going to do it himself. The commissioner and his team aren't going to do it themselves. It's an all-together team effort. So I reflect back on some experience that I've personally had, which will lead me into Paul's introduction. Back in 2003, when I was mobilized to Iraq, I had the fortunate opportunity to be chosen by my battalion commander to lead a project to rebuild a power plant to restore electricity in the southern province of Iraq. And do you think that I knew anything about power plants? No. But I had the project management team with me, or they understood that I potentially had the skills to surround myself with intelligent people that could get me through the accomplishment of the mission. I needed a security element who knew what they were doing to protect me first and foremost. And then one thing you don't think about in projects like that, in a foreign environment or in an environment where you're not able to communicate effectively because you don't speak the same language, you need a translator. You need someone that can relate the actual nuts and bolts interpretation of what your big picture goals are. So with that, they assigned me a translator who spoke a Pashto language. And this gentleman that spoke this Pashto language, his name was Hunter, and that was his nickname. He was a local Iraqi boy that he could speak Pashto, he could speak the different languages that the Iraqis speak, and he also could speak English quite fluently. He was pretty educated in that part. Not knowing that a translator was key to my success with that project, I found out in a hurry that it was the key that I needed. So his name was Hunter because he hunted pigs on the Euphrates River, and other than that, it was some Jakib Walil Kumabar name that I wouldn't know. But for nearly a month, my security element and I would go into this monster electrical facility and generate a plan with the Iraqis to get as much information back to the Coalition Provisional Authority and the people making the monster decisions to rebuild this power plant, and ultimately back to the design team, Bechtel Corporation out of Texas. And Bechtel then was taking all this information that Casey and his security element and his translator were gathering from this huge problem they had of restoring electricity in southern Iraq, and we were getting it back to the designers, the people that know what was going on. Eventually a chloride injection system was put into the Euphrates River. It was cleaning off the zebra mussels, which then went through the whole plant's process and was plugging their condensing units, which created the steam, which generated the power. But that just didn't happen by me knowing that, and the Iraqis didn't know that. They didn't have the resources or the tools or the understanding to get that, so they needed to surround themselves inadvertently with the Americans' help. It was pretty unique. So Hunter gave me some tools along the way that hopefully ties in my story here today with my next speaker. This little rosary, I believe it's called, right? Is this a rosary? Well, it's something Hunter gave me that says, Casey, throughout the process of your projects in your life, I want to give you this because this is mine. Because I'm very thankful through my career that I can take this each and every day and say, this bead represents the flowers, and I'm thankful for that. And this represents my freedom. This represents the Americans. This represents my pet dog. This represents water and sun and my family and all the different things. So I got this from my translator who helped me accomplish my mission over in Iraq. The building of a new highway facility is another project where myself as a commissioner and yourselves as supervisors are going to need to surround ourselves with educated, experienced personnel to accomplish our mission of building a highway shop. So to help translate this project from beginning to end, I'd like to introduce Paul Reeder from Myron Construction and help us with our project. Welcome, Paul. So you can turn on your presentation, or if you need help from me, let me know.
Oops, that's me.
Thank you. Well, I've never been to Iraq, but I did spend some time in that service, and picked up quite a few experiences. But my experience starts, I've been in Myron 27 years, and I was very honored, and we're very honored to have you elect or select Myron as our construction manager for your new highway facility. I've been, like I say, 27 years. Our group, Myron, is 100 years old this year, so we have been around quite some time. We were able to take the group, Casey and his group, and Chris and Mark, and actually even Bob was along with us, and tour some facilities we had just recently completed. They go and start with one of those, the Neenah City Services. Now, when I say recently, it just depends upon how good your memory is, right? This was done in 1991. This was my first project at Myron. I'm putting buttons here. Yes, it's about 77,000 square feet. And as you can see, we've got the main facility in the center. And I might get into too much detail that you might not know, but it's just things that I think make it interesting. There are certain common elements to all these type of facilities. They all have a fueling island where the trucks and the plows and all that stuff get their fuel. They all have a vehicle storage. They all have a repair shop. There's always a salt storage facility near, and there's always some cold storage, and they need a lot of site. This one here had about 12, 13 acres. It's on the south side of Neenah, and they really like the facility. It's been there 27 years. I was there last week. I said, what would you change? What would you change about it? What do you like? What do you don't like? And they say, they wish it was newer because they changed light fixtures. In 91, when we put it up, everybody had fluorescent lights. Now things we're going with are more energy efficient, and they are LEDs. The new buildings we're doing are all LEDs. So those are the kind of things that just you're catching up and keeping up with technology and keeping up with the times. On the inside, you'll see that we have a three-ton bridge up on top. Nowadays, we're putting in 10-ton, 15-ton crane. Again, it's just because equipment is getting bigger, and there's more things that they can do in-house with a larger crane. We also have an in-service pit there with the railings on it that they're working on trucks. Some municipalities like in-service pits. They service from the bottom. Some people like the vehicle lifts. Again, it's a matter of what the client and what you think you use the most and would like the best in your facility. One of the things that they all have in common as well is the bulk fluid storage for the hydraulics and the oils and all those things, because they do take a lot of work to maintain all the vehicles that you've got out on the road and in the fields. And then the vehicle storage, this is inside that. They have trash trucks and dump trucks, but the urethane floor coating, very important to these type of facilities, and what's going to be on that floor so you can keep it clean and keep it to last a long time. One of the facilities, as Casey mentioned, is Calumet. This was just completed last fall. They moved in here in September. Again, we've got vehicle storage in the back. We've got the repair very much in the front, a small office area for a small staff of about, I think it was 5 people full-time. Their salt storages are in the back, and they are actually on the same lot that they were built on in 1936. So that's where the commonality between you and Calumet, your facilities are both from the 1930s. Very old. We were able to knock the building down and reuse the same site. But we tied up into existing utilities, sewers, water, and gas, things that we need to think about on every facility we do, especially yours, because we're going to need to get with the Wisconsin Public Service and make those extensions to your new facility. Those are the kind of things that we do, that I've done in the past on other projects, that I can bring experience to this project and help you along in that manner. A couple of other things. This one has an in-ground vehicle lift, so this will pick up 87,000 pound piece of equipment, and they can service it from basically the main floor level. Here we've got a 15-ton bridge crane. Again, just larger equipment, machines to work on and maintain. The urethane flooring here is one of the things that you'll notice here is how light and bright it is. Nowadays we're putting in a lot of natural light. Nina didn't have natural light, either the clear stories or the solar tubes that are in the ceiling. Nowadays, we're putting a lot of those in. It just helps to keep the buildings lighter and brighter, and you're using daylight. Much more economical and energy efficient. We've got vehicle part storage. Mark and all his group there have a lot of parts and equipment they have to maintain. And then we have the vehicle garage. You can see how bright and clean that is. Again, this building is only from September, so they will get dirty over the course of time, but the natural lighting up on top and the LED lights and the coloring of the floor and even the paint job just makes it just a lighter, brighter, more inviting place to work, and it's much healthier for the workers as well. Another project that, again, was recently completed is our Little Chute job. This was 68,000 square feet in the village of Little Chute. They had the same thing. They had been looking for a building for several years and decided to build on the northwest corner of Little Chute. Highway 41 is not very far from here, but again, we've got the same kind of things. We've got the vehicle storage is this area. We've got the repair service bays are in this area. The offices are in the front. Their salt is in back here in a more of a temporary structure, and they've got about 5 acres of land here. Some of the features that they've got is this is a single repair garage, and a single bay repair garage, in that it only holds one length. It's 4 wide, but it's 1 long. Most of them that we're seeing are two long, so you can go like nose to nose on your vehicles as you're working on them. A little more ease of working on more than one vehicle at a time. One of the things we found out, and Greg was quick to point out, we like this kind of gate. There's mezzanines over them. You have to have safety. One of our things always in mind is how can we keep all your workers safe? So we've got safety railings so you can take heavier items from on top, use a bridge crane to get them up on top here, and through the rolling gate, keep everybody safe and secure. Here's another picture of the vehicle bay at Little Chute. Again, just clear story lights, a lot of light, a lot of bright. Even when the lights are off, you can see during the day of walking through your vehicles and being safe. Here's another storage mezzanine and another view of all the equipment they've got with their city plows and their dump trucks. And this is what your site looks like now. There should be some snow on there now, but this is the last time we were there. What we can do on here is, folks, is mostly up to you folks. Is what do you want to see? What do you like? What do you not like? Both facilities. And at this point, we're listening to what you want in your building. I'd love to be the translator to Casey and his group, and thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you.
So to follow up with Paul, and you can turn the lights back on, Jill. To follow up with Paul, what does the construction manager at this time for Myron do for Waupaca County? As we're going through our bi-weekly meetings and designing the site layout and designing where the fuel islands go and tying all that together, Myron will start taking approved designs or stuff that we say, all right, move forward, let's move on to the next step of the design. And he'll grab that design and say, all right, I'm going out to contractors and I'm going to find out what is the daily or what is the market rate for that price to do what you guys want at this point. And he'll pull that out of the design. And then Bray will design a little bit more. Myron will pull that design out, go get estimates. So what we're doing is we're building an estimate that's going to be as accurate as we possibly can after the full-blown design is done. That you may compare that to the space needs study that an architect did, but the architect essentially didn't sit down with Waupaca County over an entire year of designing and say exactly what it is. They just gave us preliminary space needs estimates. So that's Paul's role in the initial portion of our project. And I can tell you right now, we've got one of the best on hand with us. So that kind of ends all I have to talk about. And if you've got any questions, please ask.
Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. I don't have my folder or booklet along that was given out earlier. I was just wondering, after seeing some of those facilities, what is the approximate square footage of the one that we are considering building?
The approximate square footage of the one is about 103 to 110,000. It's, I would say 108,000. We're going back and forth on how wide our garage bay doors want to be. And just by making them 16-foot wide garage bays versus the initial 16-foot wide adds 400 feet per garage bay door. So you could say 105, 108,000 square feet for everything within the main shop. That doesn't include the cold storage or the salt sheds, or if you want to.
And the other question is just regarding the Calumet County one. Is that facility, is that located in Chilton?
Correct, it's on the corner of 151 right on Children, where the old one was.
That was a very old one.
If you look at it, the old pictures, there are very similarities to what you've currently got at the front of the sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Heidi Dombrowski, our finance director, is coming forth here to give us an update. Glad you're feeling better.
Nothing for you to start out?
Maybe at the end.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we've been in discussion with the financial advisors, Ehlers and Associates, and we're talking about having the initial resolutions for the borrowing to come to the county board at the March 20th meeting. So that would be just the resolution to authorize the issuance of debt for the project itself. The resolutions would be for the current estimate of the building, that not to exceed that dollar amount. And in addition, we're looking at refunding our 2011 notes for some savings on interest. So overall, we're looking at about a $34 million maximum, not to exceed amount on those resolutions between the building and that refunding. So on the refunding, we're just, excuse me, looking at what the cost savings on that would be. We're going to be refunding approximately, those the 19, 2020, and 21, so about $6,060,000 of that series. And overall, the estimated savings on that over the 3-year period to be about $55,000 is what they're estimating at this time. And they just feel that it's important to include that as part of your initial resolution so that if the market conditions are advantageous to the county at that time, we would have that option in September. So overall, what the county board's going to see on March 20th is actually 3 what we would call initial resolutions. And the first one would be to authorize the issuance of the building at $27.8 million, and that's a not to exceed amount. And then the second initial resolution will be to authorize the $6.1 million to refund the 2011 GO notes. And then our third resolution will basically take those 2 resolutions and combine them into one corporate purpose bond. So those 3 resolutions will be required at the March 20th meeting. Just want you to remember or point out that the county will only refund the notes only if it's determined to be advantageous at the time of the sale date. So as we start moving forward to September timeframe of when we're going to issue the debt, the financial advisors will take into account what the market conditions are doing at that time. If they feel it's favorable in the best interest of the county at that time to refund those, they will take that as part of the sale, and if not, they'll pull those off, and it would just be the highway facility project at that time. The repayment structures, we're looking at a couple of different repayment structures, and that again will not be determined until it'll probably be determined about a month before the sale, so that's all part of the documents that are going. But we just want to be sure that the repayment of that issuance is not part of our decision on March 20th. So right now, we're focusing our efforts on, this structure right here. This will wraps the first 3 years, you can see that we're going to, we're paying a little less interest on the forefront and a little less principal on the forefront, which would then kind of take your net service, your net rate for debt service would jump up a little bit here from 18 to 19 compared to on your rate based upon equalized value, and then stay pretty stable there between 20 and 21, and then in 2022, when we pay off that 2011 series, that's when those debt principal interest and principal payments will drop significantly, because we have that one issue out there that is a little bit higher payments. So that right now is what we're looking at as a pre-sale estimate. We are looking at other options and hoping to figure out a better process here maybe, but right now this is what we're focusing on. And if we can come up with a better structure that benefits the taxpayers as a whole, that will be the structure that we'll be recommending come the time of the issue. Are there any questions? We just want to make sure you have a heads up as to what's coming in March. Todd Tays from Ellers and Associates will be here at the March 20th meeting. At that point, we should have within your packet coming out for the March meeting will be the Ellers, their pre-sale, all their documentation along with the resolutions as provided by the bond attorney, by Quarles and Brady. Any questions?
Mr. Nygaard?
Yeah, thank you. So I was trying to read the numbers from here, and it looked like Waupaca County could have this paid off by, is that 2029?
2039.
2039.
The buildings go for 20 years.
Okay.
Our normal debt repayment is on a 10-year, but when we're in a large construction period like this, we go through over 20 years. And so this repayment schedule is on a 20-year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Mr. Kutzman?
Can you refresh my memory on what this impact, or what impact this will have, this building project, on a taxpayer with a, say, $100,000 home?
So we're talking...
Compared to what we just received as a tax bill and going forward for the next 3 or 4 years?
What this is showing is just true debt service, Dennis. So basically what this is showing is a 13-cent increase. So you're going from $1.36 to $1.49. So that would be on a $100,000 home. This scenario is $13. But what I want to, what we need to talk about is, at the finance committee level, we're going to start a financial workshop process. And if you think about it, that does not mean that the levy is going to increase that much. We're just going to try to go between the capital and debt service to minimize that impact. We talked about through the budget process 7 cents, 1%, 7 cents over the period of the next few years, so that the impact is not that large. And I think that will still be somewhat of the focus. I mean, we're not, this is what the result of the debt service will be itself, but what the impact to the taxpayer will be depend on what comes out of that financial management planning, which, you know, eventually will come to this board to review and see, because then we'll figure out the best approach to paying off the debt structure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a few things, as Heidi alluded to, maybe you wanted me to say, but just to go back a little bit, and I've said this before, but we'll hear it again, I'm sure. About 2008, correct me if I'm wrong, we bought 40 acres of land off of Highway 10 for a future highway maintenance shop. Our old maintenance shop was built in 1936 off the banks of the Waupaca River. It's in a residential neighborhood where there's kids and bikes going past all the time, can't get the plows in the garage anymore. They really handled the 1936 trucks well, but not anymore. No women's bathrooms inside, you name it. It's as old as is old as old. Very unsafe for the workers too. So as long as we had this land purchase, I think it's about time to get investment going on it, which we decided about a year and a half ago. I think I announced right here the next major project we have to move forward as a county is building a new maintenance building. We already have the land, let's do it. As you know, interest rates are projected to go up, and as we know, they are. We heard that building costs are going up 4.5% a year. So pitter patter, let's get at her. And I nominated a building committee to start meeting with Casey, Diane, and so on, so to get this going and not be held up. Well, actually, Casey wasn't here yet. Our highway commissioner left for another area, and so it got stalled. We wanted to get a new highway commissioner hired, and we did. And we got a darn good one. And we started all anew, I think it was about April, with Casey involved. And my main goal as your county board chair is to keep this moving. I've been involved in too many projects that get stalled for one reason or another. Some negativity is going to happen, we've got to keep plugging forward. So, I was a part of the new medical center in Shawano, new hospital. I was on that board, and that was one thing I was taught there. We've got to keep moving forward. Can't listen to some negative people in downtown Shawano, Clintonville, or Marion. We've got to move forward. So, and that we have. We got an ambitious highway commissioner with a great staff, and I think as a county board, we look ahead to the future. If you don't move forward, you're getting behind every day. And talking about this, we've met as a committee maybe every month, 2 months, and Casey also has a core planning committee which meet much oftener, go over more of the detailed things that Dick Keppen or maybe another supervisor don't all understand. They've been meeting regular. We keep moving them forward. We hired the architect in phase 1, and now we're moving forward with phase 2. And we've got a darn good construction manager, as you just saw, whose business has great identity in the state of Wisconsin. So this is we are today. I've talked to many other counties who had projects. For instance, Oconto County just finished a new law enforcement center. It's 2/3 the size of ours. It cost them over $30 million. And I talked to the administrator coordinator just the other day in Green Bay when I was at a meeting. That vote passed 29-2 in favor of bonding and building a $30 million facility. It's, like I said, the building costs have gone up so tremendously. When we build our new law enforcement center next door in year 2000, correct me if I'm wrong, Heidi, I thought that was 19 million bucks.
Right around, yes.
And now they've got 2/3 the size for 30 million. So this is what's happening. Like I said, interest rates have taken a couple of jumps already, and I think it's projected to maybe do 2 or 3 more, 2 more this year by Ellers. I don't know.
Right. But those are the projection are in those numbers that they have, and something that you need to be aware of is that, you know, around this time of the year, and we've seen this kind of structure happen in the marketplace in a few months, but then when we have actually taken out or issued the debt, it has sometimes fluctuated, or most times has actually leveled back off. So we're hoping it's one of those trends, but the numbers that are projected by Ellers do include or are taking those types of considerations into their estimates.
So, and also about voting on this issue next month. The reasoning is why. I've been asked both ways, why? Well, let's go back a year and a half where we as a county board, we as the building committee, the core planning committee, we've been through this. We've asked questions. We've seen the old facility. We looked at possible views of the new facility. We've been studying it just like our manager here of finances, going through all these figures and facts, talking about this, seeing other facilities. And we're quite familiar with most of the things. And our new supervisors coming in, I don't mean it negatively, but they don't have a clue. Haven't been studying this. They have no idea. Most of them don't. It's not fair to them at all. Not fair to them at all. And whereby the knowledge that we retiring supervisors have, or who's ever retiring or gone, we lose. So I thought it was only fair to make a decision like this before the election. So this is why we're going to vote in March meeting and get it started, and let's keep it going, please. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Heidi. Good job. Well, it's storytelling time, my report. Whoever needs to get up and miss this, go ahead. I have to tell you that this past Thursday and Friday were very touching times. For you see, back in 2003, then the county board chair, Dwayne, how fast do you forget? Brown, yeah, Dewey. I invited him to the Clintonville Rotary to be a speaker. I never met Dewey before, but I never knew anything about Waupaca County before. Being the mayor of Clintonville, you don't get into the county stuff. So Dewey got up and told us about Waupaca County. And Dewey and I visited a short time after that, and he said, Dick, you know, you ever think about being on the county board? And I said, I don't think so, no. But what happened is I did. In 2003, I got to go back to 2000, Dewey said, you and I are going to take a ride today up to Marinette, Wisconsin. It's the WCA district meeting. There's one person you need to meet. And that's losing. No, Mark was there. But no, it's Mr. Reimer, County Board Chair for Oconto County. So I get introduced to Mr. Reimer, and that started a friendship. I wasn't a county board chair yet, but Dewey said he was preparing me because he wasn't feeling good and he was going to be out as a chair in 2004. So meeting Mr. Reimer, who's an old baseball player, we might even played against one another years ago, was the start of a long friendship. And then I met Mark O'Connell, who I didn't know who he was at all. He was a new executive director of WCA. From that time on, Mr. Reimer, myself, have been close friends. He's just retiring as the Wisconsin Counties Mutual Insurance Corporation president after many years. Many years. And he was also retired from the WCA Board of Directors after many years. He preceded me as president of the WCA, and that was kind of a break for me because he put me on a lot of committees in the WCA, which I in turn learned what the Counties Association was all about. And furthered my friendship with Mark O'Connell, as you know, as a dynamic leader, one of the most dynamic leaders I've ever been around. Knowing Mark O'Connell so well that we did trips to New York, Washington, D.C., and Pittsburgh together. He kind of used me on their board because he knew I was a positive sort, and then he didn't like this bickering by some board members about this is wrong, that all type of thing. So on the train, we rode together all by ourselves in one car, and he wanted a $47,000 new computer system. Yeah, you know it's not going to fly, but will you help me sell it? And I did my best. Well, we got the system. So with that, I kept on with the WCA, Wisconsin Counties Association, until 2014, where my term ran out, and I didn't rerun because I would have been against my good friend from Oconto County, or Phil Isvug of next door to us, Portage. 3 weeks ago, I get a call from Mr. O'Connell, and he says, Dick, I got a job for you. we need you back down in Madison here at the county's association office. By that I mean not a regular job, but we need you back on a board here. I've got a few bickering people that are negative, and you always give positive speeches to the board, and we need some of that. Dick, will you consider it? Well, I love my time with the WCA, and I talked to my wife about it, and she said, heck yes, sounds good to me. So that means I'll be home less, and that's maybe why she thought it was a good idea. However, there's a trick involved here. As Mr. Reimer's term is up, and he's not running on the WCA board, and Mr. Isvug of Portage County is not running. He has cancer. And so I have to win an election in the district. You've got 2 openings here, and he says, I'm going to campaign for you. We need you back. So that's what's going to be happening at the next district meeting. The county board chairs of the district vote. So that means I'll be campaigning again. But no, that's just talking about the people you meet, how it explodes into more and more and more. And we know life is such an education. Every day is an education. I come to the courthouse here. I always learn something new from Diane or Mandy or Jill that I never knew before, but I better change my ways. So, just kidding. So that's the little story I told, but it's just amazing meeting 1 or 2 people in your life, how it changes your life. How you get your side of a strong leader like Mark O'Connell. I was with him the other night for a couple brewskis, and we went over our times, and he's just an exciting leader. Just get you pepped up for the game. He's not a very negative guy, you know, and that's good, because I don't get along too well with negative people. And we have to keep moving. And that's the end of my sermon. I'm sorry nobody left to go through this, but that's the end of the story, Dennis. Is that okay? Good deal. Okay. Oh, we got a legislative reports we have to give down to the legislative conference. And I know Supervisor Pullman was there. I bet she'd give up my report. You weren't there?
Yeah, I was there, but I guess I wasn't really prepared to do anything today.
Oh, well, that's not good. That's a C minus.
Only a C minus, that's not bad, right?
Mr. Zog, you've got something to say. Sure. Come on up. Oh, Mandy's walking on already.
I have 11 o'clock.
Sure you do. Sure you do. You have 3 minutes, Fred.
Okay, this thing really, I think the theme of it should have been a futuristic look at hard-to-find employees. There's a typical political stuff there, but not too many of the politicians showed up for the evening when they're supposed to be there. But 3 things that I jumped out at me. One thing, if you supervisors want to write down phone to action, phone and then the number 2 action, go to the WCA website and you can get on there and they'll contact you when they need lobbying done. Interesting part was Ray Cross, the head of the UW system, talked on how they're merging, like around here, the Tech, UW Oshkosh, and then UW Fox Valley to change the type of education and the subject matters, because down the future, it's not just going to be a difference between a liberal arts program and going to the technical college, but because of the types of industries and the changes it's going to be over the next 20 years, it's going to be hard, or it's going to be a big need to get into these technical fields. I mean, not what we think is just tech today. That'll be evolving. Then, another thing, if everybody wants to write this down, blue zones, and check it out online. This was tied in with the education changes that people were living longer and longer and longer. And then it was brought up about the millennials might revolt because they're taking care of so many more older and older people. But this place, a guy by the name of Tony Bittner, Buettner, Blue Zones, Secrets of a Long Life. There's certain parts of the country, or in the world, Okinawa, and then the only thing in the United States was Yorba Linda, California, where people are living over into the hundreds. And they mentioned what they eat, what they do, and a number of other things. It was really interesting. If you just would type that in on your space bar, Blue Zones, you can probably get all the information. And lastly, like I said, unfortunately, that's why they call this a legislative exchange in the evening. The first evening, the state legislators are supposed to come over and schmooze with us and talk to us and stuff, but I think I talked to Senator Tom Tiffany from Hazelhurst and then Senator Roger Roth from Appleton, but they don't even represent me, but those are the only two people I found, so that'd be it.
Thank you, Fred. Very good. Mr. Penny.
Well, I thought I'd touch a little bit on the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was a nice legislative conference. I'd say the attendance there was somewhere in the neighborhood in the upwards of 300 people. And there was representation there from all of the counties in our state. And it gave the opportunity, whether it be break time or in the evening time or whatever, you could get together from people that represented the counties from maybe that touch Waupaca County or outside of there and come up with some pretty good ideas. I was going to discuss, had we met day before yesterday, I was going to tell you a little bit about the three people that were running for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They all gave a presentation, and a nice presentation from all of them, but it narrowed down after Tuesday's election to the woman that was running. The lady is a judge in Milwaukee County, and the other fellow that's going to be on there is a judge down in Saw County, which is down in the Wisconsin Dells area. And the Madison attorney that ran has been eliminated. So that's about the sum and substance of what that took place. And the governor talked. He talked on a number of different subjects, but the one that caught my ear the most was the fact that he wants to eliminate the Lincoln Hills facility in its entirety up north and replace it with 6 brand new facilities with the idea that one of them has to be in the Madison area, one of them has to be in the Milwaukee area, and the other 4 are up for grabs. And that's one of the things that he had planned, and he talked about some opioid legislation that he wanted to pass. But there was one session where the high-powered, geared legislative people from the Senate and the Assembly, both Democrats and Republicans, sat on the stage, and the director from the WCA asked them various questions, and as usual, they're going to act very bipartisan, and they're going to solve everybody's problem and get together, and there isn't going to be any problems. But you know that's not going to happen. The one thing that I wanted to ask them, and we weren't allowed to ask them any questions, and they've already gone ahead with that, is that they've raised their per diem to $185 a day. And that's why you see a lot of their meetings don't start until maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night and run over midnight, which gives them another $185. And this is in addition to the more than $50,000 that each of them get for a salary. And it's funny because right now I think we're one of 10 states in the whole United States that has full-time legislators, and somewhere along the line that's going to have to change. And the first night there at the seminar is reserved for a night where we're all invited, and all the legislative people from the Capitol are invited over to sit with us at a table, and they have meals at various stations where you can go get different kinds of foods and stuff. But everybody is supposed to sit with their legislatures and talk over items that are of interest to us. But lo and behold, neither one of ours showed up. And this alone is really bothering, because they're going to, I think they had to pay $10, and a lot of them didn't, they wouldn't show a lot of them just because they had to pay the $10. But this alone is costing us $1.3 million, just in per diem alone. And I guess, let's see, there was a couple other things I was going, oh, and besides that, our senator, Luther Olson, was the greatest amount of, gained the greatest amount of per diem that anybody that, from the both parties that were there. And the other part of it is that both of our people, and most of these people, have their own business at home. Kevin Peterson, he has a big electrical business here in Waupaca, and Luther Olson has a big grain business down to Auroraville, and it just doesn't make sense. Somewhere along the line, these changes are going to have to be made. And then I'll touch one more thing on the new legislation, and I bought this booklet along because the WCA people presented it, and it's a legislative exchange, and it's all the new laws and all the new things that they want to put into effect. And the one that I just mentioned this briefly, the one that really caught my eye is the one that's going to require any horse-drawn carriages such as the Amish use and everything. It's going to require any of those horse-drawn carriages on the road, they're going to have a strobe light on the back. And maybe that's a pretty good idea, because there's been some accidents throughout the state where they have been ran into. But the kicker is that also that any of the horses that they have that draw these carts, if they've got horseshoes on them, they're not going to be allowed because they claim they're wrecking the pavement. Can you imagine that? So with that, I know some of the others want to talk a little bit, so I'll just close it at that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. It is 11 o'clock, and we also want to say something, Mr. Murphy?
After Jack Penny, this is going to be very easy, because Jack Penny had quite a laundry list of everything that went on down there and took care of informing you. But what I want to say is that every year when I go to the legislative conference, it certainly is a tonic for me. You find out so many things that are going on in Madison. You think you get it from the newspaper, you think you get it from the TV and other media sources, but until you actually talk to some of these people, and I'm not talking just the legislators, I'm talking to some of their aides, ran into Andy Phillips down there, talked to him for a while, you get a different perspective. And with these different perspectives, as well as all of the other information we get, it kind of helps you blend the picture of what our political system and our political process down in Madison is doing, and what they're doing for the state of Wisconsin or not doing for the state of Wisconsin. Every year, it seems like we have the Senate chair and the House chair, Voss and Fitzgerald, as well as the two minority leaders, because both of them are Republican, up on the stage talking over the needs of Wisconsin, talking over what could be done about those needs. And as Jack Penny pointed out, at that time up on the stage, it's pretty much sweetness and light. We know that isn't the way once it gets on the floor of the Assembly or floor of the Senate. Partisanship gets in there, and I think that stalls some of the good ideas that would certainly benefit us. I was particularly interested in infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and things like that. They touched upon it briefly, but again, we still have the log jam of how are we going to fund it? Well, no new taxes unless we cut other things in that. Well, this has got to be such a big problem in the state of Wisconsin, and you all are familiar with that, that we're going to have to eventually dig down into our pockets, whether it be anything from a wheel tax to extra cents on the gallon or whatever, toll roads were mentioned, and do something about it. It's not getting any better. It's not getting any less expensive, but it needs to do it. Ray Cross, as was mentioned, as the head of the Wisconsin University of Wisconsin system, gave a nice speech. But mainly, it's the networking we do down there. And that in itself is extremely valuable. Other than that, Mr. Keppen?
Yes, sir.
Other than that, that's about all I have to say. I'm sure you probably have something to add.
No, you hit it all right on the head. So I guess next month we'll have, maybe you want to get up next month. Okay, with that, I think we're done with that, and we do have some appointment to be made here. I'll let you say the name.
Okay, I'll give it my best. Appoint Leah to the Children's Community Options Program Advisory Committee, CCOP, replacing Sarah Hendricks.
Is there a motion for approval by Supervisor Craig? Do we have a second? And a second by Supervisor Pullman. Any questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-0.
Okay, we're going to announcements of correspondence. I just have to say, Mr. Lee Reimer of O'Connell County told me after 33 years it was ready to retire because unfortunately in 1 month he had 3 supervisors pass away. So with that being said, we should talk to Barrier Corner about putting a morgue back there someplace. But then that's 3 supervisors in 1 month. Okay, announcements and correspondence. Jill, do you have something to say about the training and so on?
I put information in your packets in regards to that. I included the electronic communication policy reminder, but just know that, we're going to try to move forward with this, but gently. We're trying to come up with some additional training materials. Kind of felt that some of the training materials that we gave before were maybe a little too broad, so we're going to just narrow it back down. We are working on a new place on the website for the agendas and minutes, so that I was kind of showing Supervisor Chrisman this morning, it's a little bit more of a one-click away, so I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit easier. Both the agendas and the packets for the meetings will be right there for you, so it'll be a click or two away, not having to look up into your emails and try to find the email that you had for that agenda, as well as the minutes. So, but we're coming up with a date. We're going to need everybody's iPads turned in to be updated. We will need them for a couple days. We haven't coordinated that date yet because when we do have them in our possession, obviously the supervisors that are using them for their sole means of communication will not have them. So that they will be updated, and then the new voting app will be put on them. We will go to the new voting system. Right now it's scheduled for May. April, our new members will not have their iPads yet, so we won't be able to do it then, but we will be doing like a voice vote or a called vote, because this board is not, the company is no longer in the works. It's very expensive to update the board, so it's not worth doing it for, so we'll do it by voice in April, so.
Sure. Also, we have to thank Supervisor Boyer for the terrific treats today.
I
No
was up,
calories.
I was up baking all night.
Great job.
I know supervisors and staff members are starting to talk about committees. Yes, been doing a lot of thinking about that. Mary Robbins and I used to go over this starting 2 months before, and she always had a lot of knowledge of who can be and who can't be on committees and why they are in committees. So Mandy and I will be starting that shortly. We usually come in the county boardroom, shut the door, and meet in this for 2 hours. Usually 3 meetings, we get that through. Some of us have to understand that there's reasons for some to be on committees. I know there's 27 of us that like to be on finance, but the rule goes that Mr. Brown always told me you can't overload, say, the finance committee with everybody from Waupaca, everybody from New London. You got to spread it all out so every place is pretty much on it. Another reason is on finance, you like to have business people that were in business, people that did budgets before, and also you take in consideration like 4 years ago when I put Mr. Fedowitz on finance, I got a bit of beefs. This was only a second term, but the man spent all his life running a bank. And so it's just normal that he would be on a finance committee. And that's how that all goes. Many committees, and I don't know all the rules and regs, but there's reasons for who's on what committees and also how long we've been a part of it. Usually a freshman senator isn't going to be on the finance or be on personnel or whatever. So you have to understand that, but we're working on it and we'll try to be fair to all. With that being said, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Mr. Zog made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Mr. Rowan seconds it. Good to see you back. Please vote.
Motion carries 20-0.